Good morning, traders. I am Emily Advani, the CEO of the Investment Banking Institute and your host here at NewsWare's Trade Talk. Joining me is trading anchor Bill Olson, who brings more than 30 years of institutional trading experience to our program. At Trade Talk, we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Today is Friday, April 25th. Markets are coming off a 3-day winning streak this morning after all three major indices closed in the green yesterday. The Dow climbed 486 points, or about 1.25%. The S&P 500 advanced 108 points, or more than 2%. The Nasdaq added 457 points, or 2.75%. Tariff talks, earnings releases, and economic reports remain top of mind for investors. So, Bill, let's get into Friday's action with what is happening in the markets this morning.
Yes. Good morning, Emily. How are you? I'm watching the S&Ps. We're lower, 0.17%. Okay. I'm not too worried. Multiple days, strong gains, giving back a little in the morning. That's okay. I mean, listen, earnings and trade talks. These are the key focus themes for the day. And, we had a lot of earnings last night. Next week's a big week for earnings. But, last night we got Google releasing earnings, and their earnings results, were positive. And, their operating income was a key highlight of their report. So they had a lot of positive things to say, so Google's earnings, very, very nice, very nice. Then you got to talk about the trade front. The U.S. and China appear ready to start de-escalation, which that's a positive step towards, having face-to-face trade talks. How do I want to say this? The U.S. is talking about lowering their tariffs down to, 50% from 145%. There's talk. It doesn't say that it's being done. It's just talk at this point. China is talking about lifting some of the tariffs on certain goods and industries, which is, a positive, de-escalation of the trade tensions, a de-escalation. So that's, that is at least a step in the right direction. Next week I'm expecting the U.S. to announce trade deals with South Korea, India, and possibly Japan. Now, these trade deals are going to be more theatrical than anything else. They're going to be talking a lot of, how Trump's a tough negotiator, how, the U.S. really was taken advantage of for years, and now we're setting the record. I don't believe the hype. I mean, I don't think these deals will really be that significant, provide that significant of a change, but it will be a positive step in that, at least they're going to be away from the high tariff noise, and it will set a roadmap for trade deals in the near future to occur. On the economic front, hey, consumer sentiment reading for April from the University of Michigan. Now that comes out today. That's going to be a key one. As I say, next week is a big week for earnings. I mean, it starts off with Honeywell, Pfizer, Coca-Cola, Visa, Starbucks. We also are going to have earnings reports from a lot of the big tech companies, Microsoft, Meta, Qualcomm, Apple, Amazon. They're all set to report next week. And the Q1 tech earnings have been coming in better than expected. Let's keep an eye on that. And let's take a look over at Europe and see what's happening over in Europe this morning. We're looking at the DAX. The DAX is higher by 141 points, or 0.64%. I mean, you're seeing gains in autos, techs, and pharma stocks. FTSE, was higher, moved lower, and now it's higher again. It's higher by 10 points, or 0.13%. I mean, been 9 sessions in a row of higher gains on the FTSE, so this could be the 10th. The CAC in Paris, is up 0.41%, or 30 points. The bearishness sentiment is kind of fading because of the thaw in the U.S.-China relations and trade talk, and that's kind of beneficial to global markets. That's why you're seeing those European markets trade higher this morning. Then we're looking last night, and we're looking over at Asia, and we did see, for the most part, we saw gains. The Nikkei jumped 666 points, or 1.90%. It was really a tech-led rally. Hong Kong gained 70 points, or 0.32%. Gains were seen in tech, consumer, property stocks, and then they got that Politburo meeting in China next week, and stimulus announcement is expected. China's Shanghai market was flat to lower, down 0.07%. While Trump is saying that they're in talks with China, Beijing is out there firmly denying the existence of any ongoing trade negotiations with the United States. Those statements are, are at the opposite end of each spectrum. So either there's talks going on or there's not. But knowing Trump, he's like, oh well, I meant just internally. I didn't mean that we're having talks with them. I mean, he changes the narrative to suit his needs. But Trump says trade talks are occurring. Beijing says they are not. Then we're turn our attention over to oil. And listen, oil is falling. We're down over 1% this morning. You know, WTI is at $62.05. Brent is at $65.79. You know, excess supply, that's a big concern. I mean, next week, you know, you have OPEC going to turn on the spigot. Their production is going to increase next week. And then you got, you know, the talks around Ukraine and Russia. You know, it seems like some peace talks progress has been made, and that could bring more Russian oil to the marketplace. You know, that's why you're seeing weakness in oil. But oil, you know, trading down over 1% this morning, and that's what I have for you in terms of a morning market update report, Emily.
On this Friday, Bill, no shortage of information to be keeping track of. And as you did mention, earnings action is certainly a focus of the markets. And, you know, number of releases, as you mentioned last night, that were worth noting, and some to look ahead to, especially next week. You did give us a short preview, but let's get the full rundown. Bill, what is going on in terms of earnings action?
We're going to start off with Intel. I mean, listen, uh, Intel beat by 13 cents, and they did it on higher revenue, but they forecasted second quarter revenue and profit that were below expectations last night. So, you know, you look at the stock this morning, Intel is trading lower by 7.35%. Then we're talking TMUS, Tom, Michael, Uncle Sam. Um, they beat by 11 cents. They did it on higher revenue. That stock's down 5% this morning. But Google, Alphabet, they beat by 80 cents and they did it on higher revenue. You look at the stock this morning, it's up 3.8%. So that's positive. And upcoming, you know, you got Domino's Pizza releasing on Monday morning, DPZ, David Paul Zebra. Their EPS estimate is $4.12 with an expected move of 7.49% when they release Monday morning, Emily.
Along with that earnings action, you're also keeping track of economic events and reports. You did mention at least one economic report worth watching today. So, Bill, give us a look at everything we should be watching when it comes to economic events.
10 a.m. this morning, we get the consumer sentiment numbers, which have been week, report after report. These are the University of Michigan numbers. I don't think that today's number is really going to have an effect on the market, though. Then at 1 p.m., you get the Baker Hughes rig count figures. That's not going to be a significant event either. But, you know, yesterday I did see that the head of the IMF, International Monetary Fund, you know, he reaffirmed that, you know, a contrarian stance that neither the U.S. nor the global economy is currently on track for a recession. Despite that, he does feel, you know, that the U.S. economic growth to slow significantly to 1.8% in 2025. That's actually kind of positive, especially when you look at the Fed, the Atlanta Fed's GDP now estimate that came out yesterday. You know, their model indicates growth negative at negative 2.5%. So, you know, that's lower than the negative 2.2% from April 17th. So, you know, that's kind of concerning, but we'll have to wait and see when the GDP numbers do come out. Christopher Waller did speak because he was in an interview yesterday, and he did say that the proposed tariffs are unlikely to have a significant impact on the U.S. economy before July 1st. He explained that the effects of these tariffs, such as higher inflation and slower growth, will likely become clearer only way into the second half of this year. That's what we've been saying. So, you know, for now, we're okay. We haven't seen the higher prices. A lot of that's due to the stockpiling that was occurred. Well, we'll have to wait and see if the deal is going to be reached shortly with China or not to kind of alleviate the U.S. and economic interests from the higher tariffs that will be affected from China. But that's what I have for you in terms of a morning update report, Emily.
Bill, your insights on these economic events are really proof of how, you know, you can see the surface level information, what reports are coming out, but really diving deeper is the key to being able to navigate these unpredictable markets. We're watching a lot of information, these earnings reports, these economic events, but also other market moving headlines and putting the pieces of the puzzle together in order to track trends on the trading day and anticipate upcoming moves in the market. You're doing all of this using your NewsWare following things, not just your earnings reports and economic events, but other types of news, like merger news, guidance news, shareholders meetings, buyback news. You're able to group your stocks together with specific alerts like your FANG stocks and your Dow 30 stocks. So, Bill, what else do you see is possibly moving the markets today?
Just doing a quick data check. I'm looking at my Dow stocks. I got 10 higher. I got 19 lower and 1 unchanged. Not bad. Not bad. I'm looking at my FANG stocks. For the most part, I'm seeing gains. A little weakness in Netflix, a little more weakness in Apple, but everything else is, trading higher. So that's kind of positive. The S&Ps, are now only down 0.07%. So, we do see that S&Ps are strengthening a bit. But you're looking at some of the news behind the tape, and you're looking at Apple. They aim to source all U.S. iPhones from India in a pivot away from China. So that's it's good for Apple because that's gives them another source to kind of manufacture the iPhones. Amazon and NVIDIA say AI data center demand is not slowing down. Listen, NVIDIA's trading a little higher, Amazon's trading a little higher because it's still a key theme is AI data centers. Google, one of the key insights or highlights was about their AI search results because they're gaining traction and they've been actually able to monetize those AI search results at the same levels as a typical search. That's positive, although it might be costing them more though, but they're still able to monetize it, and that's good. And they're able to do that at the same level. So I do think overall that's positive. When you look at Google, it's trading up 3.43% this morning. Meta, I mean, listen, Meta's trading higher by up 2.6% this morning, but they are laying off employees. In their Quest apps, division, Reality Labs. So, we got to be a little cautious on that. And Tesla's showing gains, of more than 0.5% this morning. National Highway Transportation and Safety Authorization, they're set to ease rules on self-driving vehicles. Musk has been all over it, and Trump's going to help him get those vehicles on the road. So, that's kind of positive news for Tesla. We'll see if it turns out to be a good thing for the U.S. consumer or not. But Tesla today is trading higher by 0.5%. Talking Dow Jones 30 stocks, Ruck and Johnson & Johnson, because that's one of the stocks that could possibly benefit from China's exemption or possible exemption of some U.S. Tariffs on goods. Medical is always a key one. Chevron also, they could do oil as well, but wait and see. Boeing, we got to talk about Boeing for a second because, listen, they sold, the division of over to Thomas Bravo for and apparently Thomas Bravo faces an $844 million termination fee if the deal fails. So it's good for Boeing because either way they make money. And also Republicans are planning to introduce a $150 billion spending package. That's up about $25 billion from last year. So the defense stocks are showing some positive activity this morning. And Boeing, it's only down 6 cents after 3 days of good gains, so it could turn higher again today. So let's keep an eye on that stock today. In terms of merger news, EBC, Edward Boyd Charlie, this is Eastern Bankshares. Eastern Bankshares and Harbor One Bancorp, they're going to be merging in a deal worth about $490 million. Merck, ticker MRK, they confirmed that they are in late stage discussions with SWTX on a potential acquisition. Sam William, Tom X-Ray. In terms of guidance news, Intel, they see Q2 adjusted EPS 0 cents. Street estimates at 6 cents, so that's a negative. Colgate Palmolive, ticker CL, Charlie Larry, they see full year 2025 net sales up low single digits. And Gilead, ticker GILD, Grace India, Larry David, they back their 2025 adjusted EPS view of $7.70 to $8.10. Street estimate has it at $7.95. Not bad, a little bit of a downtick, but okay. In terms of shareholders meetings, we're talking SWK, Sam William, Kilo, Stanley, Black & Decker. They're scheduled to hold a virtual shareholders meeting today at 9:30 a.m. And Graco, ticker GGG, Grace. They're scheduled to hold a virtual shareholders meeting today at 1 p.m. In terms of buyback news, Google, Alphabet, they authorized the repurchase up to $70 billion of its Class A and Class C shares. So, yeah, that's a big one. Ticker GOOG. Keep an eye on it today. And that's what I have for in terms of news hitting the tape this morning, Emily.
This is the type of data that NewsWare delivers daily. It's factual, it's market moving, and our alerting functions bring it to your attention as it happens. Go to www.newsware.com now and sign up for the trial and see for yourself the benefits that professional Newswire delivers. We've now made it to that time of the show for the Trade Talk pick of the day. Bill, there's been some wind in our sails over the last couple days, making some strong picks. And no matter what you're handed on a given morning, you're still looking for opportunities as you are today. So what is your pick of the day today?
Like the defense sector today, I'm going to go with RTX Corp, Richard Tom X-Ray. Listen, the news of the $150 billion defense package, which would be a $27 billion increase, it should help the defense stocks today. And, I like RTX because I think it has the ability to see some, good movement today. I mean, yesterday, call volume 4,535 calls traded to 4,778 puts, not positive, but also not negative. It's kind of, equal. Then you look at the open interest, 114K versus 93K. That's positive. Then I put a lot of weight on what the major brokers are saying. And some are raising their rating. They're keeping their rating. They got buy over ratings on the stock. So this news could be very beneficial to RTX. Now, I'd like to get into RTX under 122. I don't think that's going to be possible. But so I'll say 121.70 to 122.10 is kind of an entry point. But I do think we're going to see some gains in RTX today in the defense stocks. So let's keep an eye on it. Richard Tom X-Ray. That's my pick for today, Emily.
The defense sector, it is today, Bill, trading on the news cycle today, but still aiming for a specific entry point. And coming up, we will do a recap on yesterday's pick of the day before we sign off, which was more of an earnings play on that one. But ahead of that, let's take a look at the current breaking headlines that have hit the tape in our hot off the press segment. Bill, take it away.
Trump asked if China's President Xi called him, and he responded, "Yep." Okay, I don't know if that happened or not, but he said it did. But then again, he could be saying, "Oh, he called me 3 years ago." Polygraph threats, leaks, and infighting inside of Hegseth's Pentagon. Yeah, Hegseth is not a leader. He's TV man. He's media management. Got to be careful there. Tencent Music, TME, is said to be in talks to buy a firm for $2.4 billion. Trump readies a massive $100 billion arms deal for Saudi Arabia, reshaping U.S. defense ties. See, there's another story. This is why you want to be long defense stocks right now. Colgate-Palmolive, they had a good earnings report. Trump says that Bessent and Ludnick didn't tell me to do a 90-day pause. He also says we don't need anything from Canada. And he says he never defies the Supreme Court. And he's open to meeting with Iran's president or supreme leader. Oh my gosh. Trump also signaled a ban for, he supports a ban on congressional stock trading. CRI, Charlie Richard, India, they add to the growing list of firms that are suspending their forward guidance. Toyota has proposed the acquisition of the supplier, Toyota Industries, in a possible $42 billion deal. That's all I'm seeing this morning.
Okay, Bill, before we close out our trading week by diving into Friday trading, let's do a quick check-in on yesterday's pick of the day, which was Schlumberger. Now, the company did report earnings. They reported an adjusted earnings of 72 cents a share on revenue of $8.5 billion. Analysts were looking for 73 cents a share on revenue of $8.6 billion. So awfully close there. And, I did catch an article that they noted that the company's profits are closely tied to prices of oil and gas. With West Texas, the U.S. benchmark for crude has dropped 14% since January 1 and is down 26% over the past year. You follow oil every single day, so aware of that. But you were trading this one yesterday ahead of that earnings report, looking for a gain even as oil isn't necessarily gaining. How did your call work out?
Hey, it worked out stellar. It really did. I mean, the stock opened up at $43.31 and fell down. It's opened up at $34.31, and then it fell down to $34.05. Now, remember, I was saying low 34s, and 34.05 was a bargain. And then it ran. Hot. It hit all the way up to 35.09 and closed out at 34.93. So, you look at whether you got into the opening price or the lower entry price that I was suggesting, you made money. I mean, made more than 1%. It was more like 3%. So, you don't want to take a 3% gain and risk losing it, holding it into earnings. So, Schlumberger, SLB was a winner. We say 1%. Was the 1% there? Absolutely. Absolutely. So it was a big winner, Emily, big winner.
Taking advantage of the volatility there and being specific about that entry price and being diligent about taking that gain when you see it, a win there. And we will check in with you on Monday about today's RTX core pick of the day. Bill, thank you as always for your expert insight. Join us back here Monday and each weekday morning next week at NewsWare's Trade Talk when we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Again, I'm your host, Emily Advani, here with trading anchor Bill Olson. Traders, you know what to do. Let's go out there and make some green.